My name is Karen Kelly Arwola, and I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And this is my giving story. I currently work as the Vice President of Community Philanthropy at the Minneapolis Foundation, and I've worked in the area of formal philanthropy for the last 17 years. But when I think about giving, I think about it as a lifelong activity. And I really can't remember a time when I wasn't engaged in some form of giving or learning about how to give. And that, of course, would come from my family. I remember my grandparents just being giving people. That's my recollection and memory of them, whether they were sharing clothes that their kids had grown out of or inviting people to their dinner table, or giving the little money they had to the church every Sunday. There was always a philosophy and a spirit of giving. And as I think about it, I think it was kind of like you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you get dressed, and you figure out how to help somebody. So that has been a part of my kind of DNA since I can remember. My parents were very giving people, and my father was very engaged in the activism of the 60s. He was always marching and engaged in that way, but he gave a lot of his time and always leading something, leading organizations, organizing people. And I remember when I was little, there was something in the town where I grew up in downstate Illinois that was called the Community Advancement Men's Club. And it was this group of African American men, none of whom was wealthy. They were all working class men. My own father was an electrician. And they formed this club that gave scholarships to high school graduates every year. And the scholarships weren't huge, but it was just the fact that they would have this dinner and people would dress up. They would honor the graduating black students, and they would give them whatever amount of money they could raise for that year. And it was a very prestigious and exciting thing to get that scholarship, and the men were just so proud that they were doing this in the community. My mother, on the other hand, was a social worker and a member of the school board, the first black woman to be elected to the school board where we lived. And so she was always volunteering her time. And as a social worker, she was always bringing kids home that weren't hers. And so we always had people sitting around the table that we didn't know, and kids that were coming in and out of our house. And we lived in a town that had a college, and my mom was always bringing home black students who were there to make sure that they weren't alone. And somehow they would always go back to campus with a plate of food, sometimes with an item of clothing, or with anything they needed, laundry detergent or sheets for their bed or what have you. So as I've grown up, I've taken all of that value system of giving, finding some way to help others. I've integrated that into my life. I'm teaching that to my children. And I guess you could say that giving is a value that we hold dear.